do a lot of research, educate yourself, but definitely talk to people that have been there and done that before you make the jump to get a better idea of, is this, what I really want? So yeah, just asking those questions, what are the pros, what are the cons, where did you make your missteps? It's just about networking and asking the right questions and finding the right people that will really help you out throughout that journey.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled Show. This is a show about people that were successful in a previous career and left that career to go down a different path. I'm your co-host, Richard Coyne.
I'm your co-host, Bill Zahller.
On today's show, we're so pleased to have Greg Junge with us. Greg, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Greg. Yeah, thanks again for being on the Road Less Traveled Show. Well, to start with, can you tell our audience a little bit about your background and how long you were in that line of work?
Yeah, of course. So before real estate, I actually started as an admin person. I had been living in Phoenix. So I worked for the county, just basically doing admin work for adult probation. And I just looked at myself and realized, I don't know if I can do this for another 30 years. I wasn't really making a lot of money. So at that time, I started getting into real estate investing very slowly. I wish I got in a little bit quicker, but buying houses in Phoenix, that's kind of how I started, single family. And then I basically switched to becoming a realtor. I realized, I want to be on my own, be an entrepreneur. Didn't know anything about it. No one in my family was an entrepreneur. So I was definitely the black sheep, but, decided to kind of blaze my own path and did that for about 6 years while I continued to invest in real estate. I figured they would obviously complement each other with learning, what a real estate agent does and marketing and networking and everything. So doing those two at the same time. And recently I just moved to Florida about 6 months ago and still investing in real estate. And now I'm pursuing buying and selling cash flowing businesses. So kind of another pivot in the road there.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. And how long have you been doing the cash flowing business side of it?
Just started. I actually found a mastermind over the summer. So probably four or 5 months.
Okay.
So kind of brand new to that, but it's it's really cool. I love learning new skills and adding it to the tool belt and just kind of moving forward.
Oh, great. Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah.
Greg, can you give an example? It's kind of something that you might consider buying, something like that, something to share?
Yeah. So one of my business partners, kind of vetting out business partners right now as we speak too. So I always like surrounding myself with people that have been there and done that, and I can kind of learn from them and not make the mistakes that, other people make. But yeah, one area that we are looking into are digital marketing companies, because that is, I think, going into a recession would be a business that would hold up pretty well. And obviously it's not like a brick and mortar where it's just here in Tampa. So you would just need Tampa customers. Brick and mortar kind of limit you a little bit, where digital, obviously you can go anywhere in the country, maybe anywhere in the world. So opens up that customer base quite a bit.
Nice. Okay, very cool. So, Greg, maybe back to your days working for the county or somewhere along your past. Is there a funny story you can share, or something that kind of made you scratch your head and say, "Why am I doing this?"
Yeah, I mean, there's a few of them along the way. I remember working for the county, and I was very low on the totem pole. I was probably 28 years old, so my career got started a little bit later in life. But I remember just going to these weekly meetings with my supervisor, and just I was coming up with ideas to creatively make better changes to our systems and processes. And the county adage was, well, this is the way we've done it, so this is the way we're going to do it. Basically, shut up, do your job. We don't want your creativity or any of your new ideas. We're just going to keep rolling the way we do. So it made me laugh. I have a really good friend who I worked with in the county, and she's still a great friend of mine. And we would just roll our eyes and just say how antiquated and how old this county is, and they don't want to update. And I just thought, I can't do this. Like, I just can't, not that I'm like super creative or an artist or anything like that, but I have these ideas of how things can be better. And if I'm going to get stifled, I might as well just do them on my own, because then there's, sky's the limit on what I can implement, what may work, may not work, but at least I'm giving it a shot and I'm not being shut down for, just creativity purposes. So it definitely made me laugh and realize, like, I need a change, and I got to do a complete 180 if I want my life to be where I want it to be.
Good for you for realizing that. I mean, something I can, relate to is that in the past, where there would be a regime change, where I used to work, and with each new regime, they would bring in a new sales methodology, and then they would train everybody up, and I'm like, they're all the same. We've gone from 1 to 2 to 3 back to 1, and it was ridiculous. They were all very similar. There wasn't, I don't know that there was enough uniqueness there to really have warranted all the manpower and effort and money. But at the same point in time, it was silly, but at the same point in time, it wasn't just doing the status quo that, again, would have been worse. So yeah, at least somebody was trying to do something. But anyway, so wow. Yeah.
Well, Greg, what was a deciding factor for you in deciding more? It sounded like you had an entrepreneurial streak. You wanted to try new ideas, wanted to, vet those out. Also, you said your original path wasn't that fulfilling or lucrative. Was there any one deciding factor, or just kind of had an interest in real estate, or how'd you come to get into real estate and change paths?
So I've always been interested in real estate, especially in the investing side. My father, he was not into real estate at all, but he was very much in the stock market. He was a vice president of an international bank in New York. So he was very much on the other side of where I was, but he understood exactly what I was doing, why I wanted to do it. And even at one point, I used to watch my dad. I grew up in New York on Long Island, and he would take the train every morning into the city, leave at 7 a.m, come home at 7:30 at night. And he did that for 30, 40 years, very successful. But when I told him, that's not the lifestyle that I want. I don't want to work 50, 60 hours a week for the rest of my life. This is my path, and I think this is the path I want to go on. And he said, yeah, go for it. You're doing the right thing. He's like, I did my thing and it worked, but that was, 40 years ago, that's what people did. So it's just a matter of, getting that perspective and just seeing other entrepreneurs and other people just doing what they're, kind of born to do or what they really like to do. That's what I'm really after, is just more of a lifestyle and doing what I want to do, what I like to do. And then obviously what makes money for, now and for the future.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I mean, it makes all the difference, right? How much passion you have for the activity you're involved in, right? I mean, everybody's spent, you've done 50, 60-hour, work weeks. And if it's something you don't like, it's forever. If it's something you're passionate about, it goes by quickly. You don't mind the same amount of time in something you're actually especially if you're building yourself, right? If you're not working for someone else and it's a passion of yours, it just kind of compounds into it's, just a way you enjoy spending your day.
Yeah, for sure. And once I realized that, it was like a game changer. I used to hear it all the time, turn your passion into a career, turn your passion into a career. Mm-hmm. But then once you finally take action on it, wow, it's really much it's that much of a game changer. And it's just been great.
It's great. Yeah.
Excellent. So Greg, as you were doing that, turning your passion into a career, initially, were there some obstacles that you had to overcome?
Yeah, definitely. Especially on the sales side of being a realtor. Mm-hmm. I think it was the first 6 months of my realtor career. I think I made like 10 grand or 15 grand or something like that. And it was, I don't know what to expect, but, obviously 10 or 15 grand in 6 months, not a great fiscal year. So it definitely had me kind of spinning in circles of what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What do I need to change? Because I'm not naturally a salesperson. I'm very, I don't want to say hands off, but I'm just not that kind of salesy kind of guy, which, I learned a little bit here and there. So as a realtor, I had a good career. I didn't crush it, but I definitely made more than 10 or 15 grand every 6 months after that. So, but yeah, that was my biggest career, is kind of learning and really getting out of my own way and accepting, learning new skills that I didn't really want to learn, but I'm really glad that I pushed forward and forced myself to learn and get out and network. I'm a little bit on the shyer side. So going into a room with 50 people that I don't know and introducing myself and trying to sell myself as their realtor or the value that I bring. At first it was a little tough, but now it's a little bit easier. So I'm really glad I, pushed myself with those skills, but yeah, that'll be my biggest obstacle, especially in the first year or so.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, Greg, what was like one of your first victories as you transitioned to the real estate? You looked back and it kind of, like I said, you got maybe a slower start. It didn't really gain momentum right out of the gate, but can you point to one thing like your first victory, like, okay, this is the right path. I've made the right decision. I can do this.
Yeah, so this is probably coming from my investing career. A few years in, I had always, heard about 1031 exchanges and refinancing money out of the property. But in my head, I was like, oh, that's a little bit risky, pulling money out and then just putting it into another property. But once I, got that education behind me and realized this is what you do, this is the blueprint for success. So taking that first refinance out of that first property that was fully paid off, it was very, a safe investment. Basically leveraging that property to buy another one. And then once it worked, and then I used the 1031 exchange as well later down the road, I think those two things were kind of the aha moments of like, wow, this is what people do. This is what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's working. And there were no repercussions from it. Let's keep on going. Let's do that again and again and again as much as I could. So that really gave me the confidence to learn more and apply more and really take action a little bit sooner than I wanted to, but taking action quickly is something that I'm getting better and better at every day.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, once you figure out, like especially in real estate, there's a lot of tax advantages too between the 1031, cash out refinances. Is not a taxable event. I mean, so there's a lot of things the code is written to get you to incentivize you to do certain things, right? I mean, the government doesn't want to provide housing, so incentivize property owners and investors to provide, apartments and different commercial real estate avenues that way too. So yeah, it's critical to learn that. And then the other part, like you said, take action, right? Once you know something, then you need to apply it. There's that boundaries on both sides, right? You don't want to jump into something knowing nothing about it just because you're eager, and then you don't want paralysis analysis where you study for years and never take action. So you've got to find that balance. And once you get in there, you learn more that first year of actually owning something than you from all the studying you could do in theoretical side of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that was the thing I fell into too, was analyzing everything, looking at this niche, looking at that niche. Oh, this looks cool. The shiny object syndrome. And then I realized after a while, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. So learning is great, but without action, it's just, just knowledge that's accumulating. So yeah, I'm trying to stay more focused these days on one thing, maybe two things, and then really knock it out of the park.
Absolutely. We talk about that all the time. You go to your local real estate RIA meetings and, one month it's somebody doing house flips. The next month it's note investing. Then it's, rehab, and the speakers come in, they're all excited because that's what they do. And everybody, they just buy the course and then it sits collecting dust and nobody ever takes action with it. But it's good to get a good, I think, a broad understanding of what's available because there are so many niches in real estate. Mm-hmm. But then once you pick one, our advice would be, to go deep, like you're saying, instead of just going wide, go deep on a certainty, you master it and become an expert of that one particular subject. And then, like I said, then branch out after you've mastered one thing. But the shiny penny syndrome, we see it a lot in the local meetings that, every month somebody's trying something new and it never really gain any traction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Greg, as you are embarking on your path in real estate investing and really, building wealth in that manner, and now potentially buying businesses, that kind of thing. Is there a funny story you can share along the way?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like a laugh out loud kind of funny story, but it was a good aha moment for me. Mm-hmm. So like I said, 6 months ago, me and my wife, we moved to the Tampa area, and every morning we go for a walk. We get out in nature and get the sunshine and do all that fun stuff. And I happen to be reading a book by Mark Victor Hansen called Ask. If you haven't read it, it's a great book. Obviously, it's about not being afraid to ask questions and being curious. So at this time, I was actually signed up to be in my second book, where I basically write one chapter. All the authors write one chapter. It's a collaboration, and then it gets published. So I signed up for the second book, and I was talking to my wife, Mandy, about what I'm going to write about, how am I going to structure it, just kind of brainstorming some ideas. And then I thought of this question and I asked my wife, I said, hey, would you ever want to be in one of these books? Like thinking the answer in my head would be like, no, she probably wouldn't be in one. She doesn't like to put herself out there like that. And she surprised me. She said, yeah, of course, that would be great. And I said, really? I said, huh. And then I thought for a second and I said to myself, at least, I was like, what's a great follow-up question right now? And then I thought of it and I said, if I didn't ask you that question, would you have ever told me that? And she said, no, probably not. So again, just, you think you know your wife, you think you know people that are close to you. It doesn't hurt to ask because you never know what questions you're going to, or what answers you're going to get from those questions.
Mhm.
And I said, cool, let's get you in the next book, or let's see what next book that comes up that would fit what you want to do. And, but if I never asked, then I wouldn't have known that about her, and she probably wouldn't be in hopefully a future book that it's going to be in the next coming years or whatever, but seeing her name in print would be really cool. And
Nice.
just by asking.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing how, again, some people just don't ask questions, and you have this festering question out there forever, and you never address it. And so that's cool that you asked her, and you were pleasantly surprised by the answer, and good for you guys. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Greg, where are you today on your real estate journey? Like I said, you've buying the businesses side of it. So I know you said you're recently into that, and you're going deep into that side of it. Where do you see yourself, some goals you have for the real estate side?
So for the real estate side, the reason I actually joined a mastermind for the mergers and acquisitions, buying the businesses, was to feed my real estate investing, because that's my passion. I love looking at deals, investing in deals, running the numbers. So that's kind of my business model anyways, to buy one cash flowing business that can fund a lot of my lifestyle, and then basically funnel it into passive investments or maybe lending. Those are the two areas that I really like looking into. Passive investing, obviously, for just the passivity of it. Here's my money, vet out the vendor or the sponsor, and then kind of let it go from there. And then lending, kind of a little bit more on the active side. But again, looking at the deals, talking to people. So those are the two avenues that I'm really exploring on the real estate investing side. And then the business is kind of fueling that fire.
Oh, great.
Very nice. Greg, you have a book out, if you would talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I mentioned two of them. So the first book that I was in, I have it actually right here. It's Success Habit of Superachievers. And if you're familiar with Jim Rohn, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Jim Rohn. So I joined a mastermind with Jim Rohn's 18-year business partner. His name is Kyle Wilson. So Kyle Wilson is the one who produces these books and basically puts all these authors together for the collaboration project. So the Success Habits came out probably a couple of years ago, and it was just a fun experience. I wrote about kind of exactly what we're talking about, my success as a realtor and real estate investing. And the next book is coming out in early 2023, and that one is Next Level Your Life, which in that book, we kind of didn't really get into it on this interview, but since 2020, I dropped about 65 pounds.
Wow.
I had a minor health scare that kind of helped me along the way as well. But so now I'm really into health and nutrition. And that's what I wrote about in the next book coming up, The Next Level Your Life, about just that whole journey with personal development and on the health and nutrition side, not the business and finance and investing side. So yeah, trying to balance out the two books with two main things that are driving my life.
Wow, that's admirable. Congratulations. And again, certainly obviously it was driven by health care, like you said, but good for you. You took the weight off, you're keeping it off, and you've changed your lifestyle in terms of being much more healthy, that kind of thing. That's excellent. Well done. So Greg, is there anything that you do in your maybe personal life or through your companies that you can share that you do to give back to help others?
So I'm trying to think. This was years ago back in Phoenix, but me and my friends, we actually joined a charity where it's called Blondes versus Brunettes. It funds the Alzheimer's Association. Yeah. And what it is the guys are basically coaching women who play flag football, and we raise money for a flag football event. So it's really cool. Obviously, it's a lot of community raising money, charity events, great networking. Obviously, you meet a lot of great guys, but a lot of great girls that are there for giving back to the charity and giving their time and money. So that's something that I participated in probably 4 or 5 years in Phoenix. And it was a great experience. I learned that me and my friends, even though we know a lot about football, we are not great football coaches. But we had a lot of fun. We raised a lot of money, a lot of awareness, and it was just a great time. So that's something that I did back in Phoenix, and me and my wife actually we talked about once we got settled here, and once we do have a little bit more time on our hands, maybe doing something more locally, because I know she can do some stuff with her work, and eventually maybe something for like Habitat for Humanity, but maybe that's a little down the road. But obviously it's in the real estate world, and I'm not very handy, so I could use pick up some skills along the way would be really cool.
There you go. Nice.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Greg, is there something you've recently implemented in your business as you've scaled that's helped you achieve a little more time management?
I don't know about time management, but one thing that I've really kicked up a very high notch was networking. When I joined the business mastermind back in June of this summer of 2022, everything was virtual because everybody is, still kind of doing some virtual meetings, and everybody's located all over the country. So when I joined that mastermind, I literally took all the people in that mastermind. I emailed them or Facebook messaged them. Hey, I'm new to the mastermind. Let's chat. We might have something in common. We might have a partnership in here. Who knows? I might be able to help you out with funding. And some people reach out, some people don't. You get on these calls, and some people are cool, and some people you don't really vibe with. But that's one thing that I really took seriously when I joined this mastermind, just to learn about people, why they're there, their experience, and how I can help them, how we can maybe partner together, or even if it's something that can help with them down the road and it doesn't turn into a partnership. Karma is a great thing, so it's givers gain, and you always got to lead with value, and that's what I really wanted to do in those networking meetings, and it's been great. You learn a lot about people, and I'm actually going to a live event this weekend, so going into that event, I'll know a lot more about those people, just having those conversations under my belt.
Right. I mean, and that's absolutely critical. I think it's at the end of the day, we're always surprised, how small of a world real estate really is. I mean, you're not usually more than one or two touch points away from somebody in a deal or that's involved somehow in it. So I forget, I don't know, it was Jim Rohn maybe that your network is your net worth. It's again surrounding yourself with quality people that are trying to do the same thing and grow like you are. I think it's vital to your success. I mean, you've got to, like I said, grow with your group.
Yeah.
And I really like what you said, that, again, you put yourself out there, you reached out to say hello to other people, to see if there was something that guys had in common, some way to help them out in some capacity, as well as, just general networking. Again, that's great. And I think it's Zig Ziglar that said something to the effect of, you can get everything you want out of life if you just help other people get everything they want. And that's so true. Again, you're adding value to somebody else in some fashion by just asking the question, hey, what do we have in common? Is there some way we can add value to each other? So I like that approach. Nice. Yeah.
And I think it goes back to ask too, right? It's just asking people for that conversation. If they want it, great. If they don't want it, that's cool too. That's one thing I learned along the way, is not caring about what other people think, but not really caring what other people think, right? It's, is somebody going to really judge me for asking them for a meeting and they say no? All right, cool. The next person's going to say yes, and then off to the races. So it's, dropping that off of at least in my head, was, helped me move forward very quickly too.
Yeah. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. So,
yep.
Greg, what advice would you share with somebody who's considering making a path change?
I would say, kind of like what we're talking about, is find people that have been there and done that first before you make that jump. Definitely do your education, or, do a lot of research, educate yourself, but definitely talk to people that have been there and done that. I know even before I jumped into being a realtor, I talked to a few, people in that world and say, what's it like? And, what are the pros? What are the cons? Where did you make your missteps? Just asking those questions and finding those people before you make the jump to see, to get a better idea of, is this, what I really want? Is this the way I want to set up my lifestyle? Is this going to help me achieve my goals? So kind of like you said, it's just about networking and asking the right questions and finding the right people that will really help you out throughout that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Greg, what's the best way for our listeners to be able to reach out and learn more about what you're doing, and also find out more about your release book and the one upcoming?
Yeah, thank you. So the best way, my website is sevenfigurecapital.com, and it's all spelled out. You guys can email me at greg@sevenfigurecapital.com. And social media, I'm pretty much only on Facebook. I'm kind of old school, but that's the way I roll. So you can just type my name in Facebook, my name and my picture will pop up pretty easily there. So those are the best 3 ways to get a hold of me.
Great. And we'll provide show notes below in the description there. Well, Greg, we really want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show. Enjoyed the conversation and want to wish you continued success.
You too. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Richard. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. We really appreciate you being on today. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Please continue to give us a 5-star rating so we can bring you more great content like our show today with Greg Junge. And we'd also like to remind everybody that Park Capital Partners has 2 things going on. First, we have the Park Capital Partners Value Add Fund, which is a 506c fund that is open today for investors. And we'd also like to mention that we have the Park Capital Partners Foundation that is a 501c3 nonprofit. And the way that works very briefly is that Bill and I fund the operations of that foundation from Park Capital Partners. That way, the money donated to the foundation goes to do its best work, which is to help other people. And then we also invest personally and corporately. And then finally, when investors invest with us, we make a donation to honor that investor to a pre-selected list of 15 different charities. So investors can not only make returns on their investment, but also feel good about it along the way by helping somebody else. So please, certainly, folks, reach out to us. Bill and I are happy to have a conversation anytime. We're at parkcapitalpartnersllc.com, and we thank you for being on. And remember, folks, the road less traveled may be calling you. We recommend that you listen and take action. Thanks for joining.